The sound of roaring engines broke the silence of a sleepy suburban street that afternoon. Chrome gleamed under the sunlight as 5 rugged bikers rolled in, their leather vests marked, with patches that made neighbors shut their blinds and mothers pull their children closer. They looked like trouble tattooed, scarred, carrying the kind of weight that only hard roads and harder choices can leave behind. But none of them could have guessed that, in just a few minutes, a trembling little boy would change everything about who they were, what they stood for, and how far they were willing to go for someone they didn't even know. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that sometimes the roughest souls have the softest hearts, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes in good people doing the right thing when it matters most. It all started on a Saturday, the kind that felt made for open roads and endless rides. The group called themselves the Iron Wind Riders, a name that once struck fear but now carried a quiet sense of redemption. Most of them were men who'd walked away from darker paths, old street fights, broken homes, and bad choices that had left their marks both inside and out. They didn't ride for rebellion anymore. They rode for purpose. Every month, they visited small towns to raise money for local shelters and hospitals. Their tough looks and roaring engines had become symbols of unexpected good. A reminder that even those who've seen the worst can still choose to do good. That day, they had stopped outside a local diner on the edge of town, chatting and joking while the scent of fried chicken filled the air. The leader, a broad-shouldered man named Ray Hammer Dalton, was wiping the dust off his bike when he noticed a small figure standing across the parking lot. A boy, no more than 7 or 8, wearing a gray hoodie 2 sizes too big. Dirt smudged across his cheeks, his small hands shaking slightly as he watched them. At first, Ray thought the kid was just curious. Kids often love the bikes, the chrome, the rumble, the noise. But this boy's eyes told a different story. They were wide, scared, and filled with something heavier than any child should carry. He took a step forward, then another, clutching the edge of his hoodie like it was armor. When Ray crouched down to his level, the boy whispered words so soft that only the wind could have carried them. "They took my sister." Ray froze. The noise around him, the laughter, the engines, the idle talk, vanished into silence. Behind him, the rest of the group, 5 men who'd seen plenty of bad in their lives, straightened up immediately. The boy's words hung in the air like a punch that hadn't landed yet. Ray's voice came out low and calm. "What do you mean, kid?" But the boy couldn't say much. He was shaking, his voice cracking as he explained between sobs that his sister, Lily, had been taken by 2 men in a van. They'd promised their mother they were from child services, but after they drove off, no one had seen them again. His mom had been screaming, running down the road, begging for help. But by the time anyone noticed, the van was gone. Ray's hands clenched around his gloves. He looked over at his crew. 5 men who'd once been outlaws but had long since turned their lives around. They didn't wait for more words. They didn't need to. Within seconds, their bikes came alive, growling like beasts ready for battle. The boy, whose name they learned was Jake, climbed into Ray's sidecar, holding tight to a worn-out teddy bear as they tore down the street. The other bikers fanned out, engines roaring like thunder as they followed the dirt tracks that led out of town. Ray called ahead to a few contacts. People he knew from his old life, the kind of folks who still kept ears to the ground. They didn't trust the police to get there fast enough, and besides, the boy's words had lit something fierce inside them, something raw and unstoppable. The chase wasn't just through roads, it was through heartache, regret, and redemption. The bikers knew the kind of men who took children. They'd seen them before in dark corners of society, hiding behind fake smiles and good intentions. Ray's mind raced as the miles passed. He remembered his own daughter, lost years ago in a car accident. He'd buried his hope with her, drowned it in whiskey and rage until the day he chose to change. And now, hearing Jake's broken voice tremble beside him, it felt like fate had just handed him one last chance to save what he couldn't before. They followed leads for nearly an hour, cutting through empty fields, abandoned roads, and forgotten gas stations. Finally, one of the bikers, Tank, spotted a white van parked near an old storage yard at the edge of town. No markings, no plates, just quiet, too quiet. They slowed down, engines humming low, and Ray signaled for silence. The boy pointed with shaking fingers. "That's it. That's the van." Everything that happened next moved like a heartbeat. Fast, loud, unstoppable. The bikers surrounded the yard, their boots crunching gravel, eyes scanning every shadow. Ray kicked open the door to one of the storage units and froze. Inside was a man, tall and greasy, holding a phone in one hand and a terrified little girl in the other. She couldn't have been older than 10, her wrists tied, eyes red from crying. The man shouted something about staying back, but Ray didn't hear the words. He only heard Lily's muffled sobs. What happened after that would later be described by witnesses as lightning in human form. The bikers didn't think, they moved. Years of rough living and instinct took over. Tank tackled the man, another biker grabbed Lily, and Ray made sure she was safe before calling the police. It wasn't clean or calm, it was chaos fueled by love and fury. When the police arrived minutes later, they found the kidnappers tied up, the children safe, and a group of bikers standing guard like sentinels made of steel and scars. Jake ran to his sister, clutching her so tightly that his little hands trembled against her back. "I knew you'd come back," Lily whispered. And when Ray saw that, the way she buried her face in her brother's shoulder, he turned away, blinking hard against the tears that burned his eyes. By the time the reporters showed up, the bikers were gone. They didn't wait for credit or thanks. They disappeared down the same road they came from, leaving behind only the sound of engines fading into the wind. But the story spread fast. The town that once avoided them now looked at them differently. Strangers began leaving thank you notes at the diner. Mothers brought their kids to meet the men who had become unexpected heroes. For the Iron Wind Riders, though, it wasn't about glory. Ray would say later that it was about something else entirely. A chance to make right what life took wrong. From that day on, their rides had new meaning. They started a small foundation in Lily's name, helping families in crisis and teaching kids about safety. The tough men with tattoos and leather jackets became protectors, modern-day knights of the open road. Perhaps the most touching moment came weeks later when Jake's mother showed up at one of their charity rides. She handed Ray a small photo, her two kids smiling together, and a single note that read, "You didn't just save my children, you saved me too." Ray kept that photo tucked inside his vest from then on, right over his heart. It wasn't about the past anymore. It was about the road ahead, a road that stretched wide and free, lined not just with asphalt, but with second chances. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Every view and comment helps us keep telling stories about real kindness, courage, and redemption. The kind of stories that remind us there's still good out there, even in the unlikeliest places. Before you go, comment below and tell us, do you believe that people can truly change? Because maybe, just maybe, sometimes the toughest people are the ones who carry the biggest hearts. And sometimes a whisper from a frightened little boy is all it takes to wake the hero inside us all.